Somewhere in Russia, 2019 ski.
Metro Exodus is weird.
Good evening.
What is the definition of the word controversy? I don't know, but my mummy told me that Metro Exodus was a game that had one.
To summarise why this game has been such a big deal in the news recently, we need to take a quick look at the history of the Metro video games. Metro 2033 was the first game in the series, not the 2033rd, released in 2010 and based on the book of the exact same name by Dmitry Glukovsky. As far as the book goes,
I can't read.
but the game that came from it I totally loved when I played it for the first time via the Redux collection on PS4. When it originally came out, it was reviewed pretty positively for its unrelenting horror elements and management system of loads of different things, from gas mask care and filter replacement to ammunition scarcity, as you survive day after day by the skin of your teeth trying to get through the many hordes of mutants lurking deep in the many metro stations and tunnels the game was named after. You're stuck with a compass to guide you and nothing else. Your wristwatch tells you how much air is remaining for your gas mask filters. You need to keep your flashlight manually charged up. There was also a high amount of political intrigue and, to put it lightly, unsavoury characters you had to get around, leading you to question if the humans are even worse than the monsters in many instances. It's a great game. The rest of the world seemed to think so too, since that led to 2013's Metro Last Light, which was not based on the second book, Metro 2034, but did inspire the third book, Metro 2035. Now, how about that for a kettle of fish? In my opinion, where I do think a few general elements were done a little better in the original, like with how little ammo was available and the storyline, Last Light is by far the superior game overall. It does so much more and increases its atmosphere by such an insane degree that I couldn't help but love it. The visual detail and polish was out of this world. The monsters and side areas they are nested in were actually frightening. There's unexplained noises, hallucinations, and ghosts. If a game ever succeeded in illustrating the harrowing descent into desperate madness within post-apocalyptic underground tunnels so much that it put Fallout 3 to shame, Metro Last Light was that game. And it's criminal that the series isn't as mainstream on gaming YouTube as many other franchises are. If you haven't played these yet, please do. And I'm going to recommend you play them with the Redux editions for consoles and PC. Smoother frame rates for all systems, graphical enhancements, both original games in the cheapest package available. Give them a play as soon as you can.
So I'm sure you can imagine, for fans of the series, the wait for a Last Light sequel that ended up being 6 years was pretty nuts, the title of the game being Metro Exodus. And up to the release of the game, people were so excited that expectedly started pre-ordering the game on Steam in droves. And aren't you glad you did?
Because at the very last minute, and I mean so last minute that deluxe editions of the game still had Steam logos printed on the back and needed stickers placed on top of them, the publisher, Deep Silver, decided to pull the rug from under PC customers' feet and make the game exclusive to the Epic Games Store for 1 year.
People who pre-ordered the game through Steam can now play the game through that system, no sweat, but for everybody else, they were forced to put their personal details and bank card info on yet another goddamn online storefront, which I completely refuse to do. I don't buy EA games on PC because of that and how Origin has been so terrible for me, which then left me stranded in the wasteland with the PS4 version. And the joke's on me because I got the wrong end of the pointy stick up my arse for doing that.
I'm just gonna come out and say it right now. Metro Exodus on PS4 is not the best way to play this game, full stop. And what's funny about that is that to make up for that fact, this version of the game came with a load of random benefits that almost feel like some sort of half-assed apology to people who originally wanted the Steam version and had to settle for PS4 instead. My copy came with the shittiest little compass I've ever seen that not only doesn't work most of the time, but came in its packaging pre-scratched. Was this to keep with the style of a post-apocalyptic setting, Deep Silver? Has this compass survived the war? And it even came with an exclusive dynamic theme for my PS4, which did not work and refused to download. I'm not kidding. What, you think I've been a bit silly by showing off this code online for thousands of people to potentially steal? Well, no, I'm willingly giving it away to you because it absolutely did not work for me no matter what I tried. If someone can use this code, be my sodding guest, because I can't.
So yeah, if these little things were supposed to be an apology to me for having the game taken down from Steam and having to go for another version, apology not accepted. Enough with all that though. How does the game itself fare despite all the controversy? Well, strap yourselves in, gentlemen, and rough ladies, let's dive into Metro Exodus. That's the wrong Exodus.
Well, the intro to the game is pretty cool at least. You're on a train because game title, and you get an almost time-lapse styled smooth transition from narrated event to narrated event as you get to see firsthand how destructive the nuclear wars of planet Earth have been to the people and places.
I don't care if I'm called an idiot, but if even a single shard of the old world still exists out there, I have to find it.
Well, I'm happy you gave me permission because you're an idiot! Why the absolute hell would you even consider doing any of these ideas after all you've seen outside in the last few games? This idiot you'll be controlling today is called Artyom. For Metro fans out there, yes, the same Artyom from previous games. And the basic plot of this game is more or less how he describes it. Following after Metro Last Light with many of the same characters returning, Artyom is convinced there are outdoor open clean air places for humans to live and keeps venturing out from his group nearly getting killed in order to find those places. On one hand, I get it, traumatized by the underground and people going nuts after being hauled up there for so long. Yeah, it makes sense to me that you'd want to try living outdoors. But on the other hand, yeah, you're an idiot. Just like the previous games, he's a mute too. Artyom only ever speaks for his own personal thoughts and narration in between story events with loading screens, and makes lots of grunts and screams during gameplay. Now personally, this is a style that I really like, because you don't only get to take in every grain of the atmosphere, but also don't get dictated to by the game with how you're supposed to feel with a voice actor constantly chirping away at everything around you. And after everything he's been through, I buy the fact that he doesn't really want to talk to people, or does in very brief intervals. He wouldn't trust anybody, so he wouldn't bother saying anything. But he's still a solid character since he does have those parts of narrating his thoughts and opinions on things in between the story events. You get the best of both worlds here.
Artyom, rather than carrying on with this silent disapproval of yours.
But then again, maybe he does say things because this woman here berates you for filling her son's head with lots of stories, alright?
Will you take me with you when you find the clean place outside?
No.
Stop putting delusions into his head. I don't want him going crazy like you.
Okay, lady, chill out. I just told him I wouldn't take him with me. Aren't you watching my body language? Even if I wanted to, I wouldn't take your son anyway because he probably has cholera.
So this stuff is all great, but you know what isn't? We're stuck with the PS4 version.
Without getting into the specifics just yet, I will just say that Metro Exodus is not a bad game, but if you want to play it, do not get it on PS4. Firstly, the performance and responsiveness. Well, 30 FPS is not a deal breaker for me as long as it's consistent, and this game is, which is impressive for PS4 considering the game looks so good it almost makes Nuclear Annihilation look appealing. But what isn't good is the input lag. I don't know what the hell is going on with this, but it practically ruins a core aspect of the game until you spend a few hours getting used to it. No, it's not my TV or the PS4 settings either. Trust me, I've tried every option and my TV statistically has one of the lowest input lags for consoles when you change the channel setting to game mode. And would you looky here, in the menus there's no input lag at all. It's perfect here, but in the game itself, you try precision aiming with no ammo when you have a delay that terrible. I did get used to it after a while, I must stress, and pulled off some crafty headshots while getting my head around planning my aiming and shooting a few milliseconds in advance, but I shouldn't have to do that anyway. I'm not sure if this is a recurring issue in other versions of the game either, but the sound design I found to be all over the place as well. Gunshots were often so loud that the back of my head broke out in bruises, yet the atmospheric murmurs, echoed horrific groans, and even the character dialogue are often insanely quiet and impossible to understand without subtitles even if you're right next to the character.
Look, if you go at night, it's less of a chance you might stay at games. But it's not gonna be easy either.
And how about these parts where your gas mask chat is supposed to sound like this?
Yes, and there's also those damn things.
Because you know, you're wearing a gas mask. Yet in multiple occasions, my characters were clearly wearing gas masks but sounded even clearer than they do without them.
And we were none the wiser. How perfect of them!
And yes, I checked. On PS4 there is absolutely no way to edit each separate audio track other than the music itself, so this problem of unbalanced audio remained an issue for me right up until I stopped playing. And what about this punching sound? Are you serious? That sounds like it was taken from a fight scene in Scooby-Doo. In fact, no, I know where I've heard that sound before. It's the removing block noise in Legoland for the PC. For such a brutally realistic and gruesome depiction of a nuclear apocalypse with mutants running amok, I would have expected something a little bit more, or a bit more, or a bit more. Hell, I would have preferred it if it were more, because at least I could then laugh at it.
I suppose I'll have to get my jollies elsewhere then. How about with the crouching animation? Have you ever seen the squatting boogie before?
And how about the glitches? Whoa, I haven't seen anything as twisted as this since... Twist? I was seeing mutants getting stuck in the environment and objects, textures all over the place were rising and sinking into the ground depending on where I was moving to, like it was too shy to see me. I was grabbing onto the air all the time at totally random points. After many kills, the enemy legs would go full on Irish river dance. One time I saved some caged villagers in a bandit settlement who didn't move or do a single thing for me until I quit the game and came back to that area the next day. And there was this mission here where I had to drive a rail car out of a flooded building, and instead of the game letting me do anything properly, the game outright gave up and phased me through a giant steel door. Look at this. The game just outright went...
Fun fact, did you know
that this was the exact part of the game where
I totally gave up? No, I'm not kidding. I actually played about 5 hours of this game and traded it right back in because the PS4 version of it doesn't do it any justice whatsoever. And I'm not blind to the fact that some of my favourite games of all time have the occasional bug or silly moment unintended by the developers. But what makes me forgive them more in other games when pitted against each other is all dependent on how well the illusion the game is presenting to you is being kept up. How successfully the atmosphere is sucking you in so it doesn't ever become a problem. Because at that point, how great the rest of the game is just makes the bugs completely insignificant in comparison, unless there's loads of bugs, of course. But with Metro Exodus, I'm sorry to say I just wasn't sold on it, so combine that with a bad version of the game and I just ended up being bothered by most of it.
Now please do keep in mind, people, I know I'm reviewing this game today, but it is not a full review of Metro Exodus because I did only get 5 hours in before giving up with it. Mostly because of the state of the PS4 version, but also because that coupled with many gameplay elements that just did not gel with me, caused me to not really want to see it through any further. So take what I say here with a grain of salt as a kind of impressions video. The game is far from bad, it's alright, but it's hard to explain. I'll try my hardest with this video. As I briefly mentioned before, the story here is about Artyom going mad trying to find life outside, and it begins just as strong as any other classic Metro game. You get jumpy monster encounters in the pitch black claustrophobic tunnels, and even in the slightly more open buildings. There are weather hazards that you need to keep on track of by wiping your helmet. There's the timer to keep an eye on to change the filter to your gas mask. There's people you think you can trust since you're all in this awful situation together, and yet you can't end up trusting them. Everything I like from the original games is here, but how the rest of the plot is kickstarted stretches it a teensy bit for me. Yes, a series with these things in it is now stretching it. Firstly, because I was thinking the whole game was about a quest to find clean air and that it was going to build up to a reveal that people either could or couldn't live above the ground without gas masks. But then in the first 5 minutes, oh, look, there's people, there's clean air.
Let's call it a day, boys!
I'm aware that the characters within the game have been searching for this information for a long time, and you just so happen to be controlling Artyom as they stumbled into it. That's fine, but with this taken into account, the rest of the game from what I could see just involved finding things in order to keep looking for safer places to live. But with the whole concept of clean air above ground locations being the main point of insanity for Artyom that nobody believed him on, what's the symbolic nature of the Exodus the game is named after if we've already discovered what we're exodusing? Furthermore, how in the advertiser unfriendly have they never seen a train before on the surface? This can't be a brand new train that's never moved before. It has to be a trusted and working railroad, otherwise the humans would never risk using it. And I know you could argue that Artyom's wife Anna says that this is a restricted area so they may have missed the train until now, but I'm calling piddle puddles on that. One, because restricted areas clearly haven't bothered them before, so there's no reason why they wouldn't have come down here until now. I mean, look, the mutants get right up in your face and don't even bother touching you. It's not that scary. Two, because Artyom and Anna have been out and about searching for radio signals for years, which they would have got the best reception of from high up, so they would have had a long-ass view of the world around them. And three, because if the train is indeed moving briskly along, that must mean that the track is safe, otherwise once again the humans wouldn't risk using it, meaning it would have had a lot of track and stations to go past, or at least go back and forth between two major areas. Either way, it would be easily spotted if you were that high up above the world, and you'd be able to hear it. At the very least, they do use this really weird plot point as a springboard into a much better story, as you discover that areas of Russia were deliberately jamming radar signals, not just from other areas of Russia, but also the rest of the world, because you know that war that caused everything you saw in Metro 2033 and Last Light? Well, it never ended, it's still going on, and after accidentally blowing up a radio station, your cover of Playing Dead is jeopardized and you open up the whole country to more enemy attacks and so need to get a move on to do things. After an undynamic cutscene from a first-person view that leaves you totally motionless and looking at the same location for far too long. Wait a second, is your notebook a pause menu with the left trigger icon still on the page? Why? We then head off with our map, compass, and head for the first radio signal that we find in order to discover a new world, even though we kind of already do that in the beginning parts of the game. And oh my, what beautiful things we see. Once you're off, for the most part you are left with your own map of the area with a point of interest. No wayfinders, no objective markers, it's just you, the world, and it allows you to take in every detail around you and more naturally discover settlements on your journey, acting as miniature levels dotted around the place, all until you can figure out what to do with your raggle-taggle gang of rapscallions for the next objective. And despite how I felt about the game as a whole, I can't say that this is done badly, but it does have its problems for me. Overall, it does feel like a natural progression for what the other Metro games were building up to, even if it feels way too much like 3D Fallout. And I do appreciate how, because of the more open approach, the spookier scripted moments don't appear as scripted as they would otherwise and feel more organic. That's kind of clever. Also, the sewers and tunnels Metro is famous for are still here and offer the best gameplay in the game itself, but are spaced out more as rewards for getting to another area of interest safely. I mean, yeah, once you get there, they don't last long at all before throwing you back out to Mother Nature, but I'm happy they're at least still here. This is what I was hoping Exodus would be more of, personally. Plus, every single survival element that Fallout doesn't have is here and used to great effect, from limited ammo, gun management, and gas mask care. But when it comes to splicing these survival elements in the new open world, connecting the dots between these brilliant areas, I'm sorry, I just wasn't digging it. Firstly, the boat and survival within the boat. This just feels like an afterthought to me, and I don't understand its inclusion. If you see water mutants, you can either stop the boat manually and waste precious ammo firing at something that will more than likely ignore you, or just keep on paddling away until the game stops you itself and gives you the most infrequently attacking monster I've ever seen that won't let you continue moving until you scare it off, only really serving its purpose of being an interruption and a waste of ammo. And since the boat itself isn't very agile or quick to move or stop, understandable, avoiding encounters entirely doesn't feel doable at all. It will just happen or it won't. And this is a shame, because in order to get to any point of interest at all that has water between it, you have to use a boat, because Artyom can't swim, which isn't only annoying as hell when you've got the smallest gap to cross and just can't without a boat, but equally nonsensical because if you fall in the water, Artyom swims straight back up to the surface in seconds, so he clearly can swim with all of that heavy gear he's carrying. Why do you need to run around to find a random dock or a random boat just to get over that tiny gap? Secondly, there's the survival with the land part. I will say first and foremost, there's a lot that I like here. The open world is pretty beautiful, at least when the PS4 version isn't being buggier than a bug's life. Most places you go to off course from your destination have something vitally useful for you to uncover and help keep you alive when low on supplies, and I love how you'll meet more people on your travels with totally different lifestyles who also often provide unique gameplay situations above standard stealth kills and FPS battles. Some fight you in teams or go at you alone in a vain attempt of glory, some enemies see how much of a threat you are and surrender, some will not even fight you and give you new places of safety for sleeping and workbenches. And these can take place outdoors in difficult fortresses with multiple levels of verticality to be aware of for snipers and such, or indoors for more instances of you being able to put the lights out to stay in the dark, throw silent knives around the place, and stealth kill much easier to thin out the numbers in case they spot you, with many of these locations never being as simple to navigate as you'd expect since floorboards and such can break. Then you've got the mutants, of course, who can kill you quickly, soak up your ammo, call for backup, and in my opinion provide the only real tense moments in the game due to their unsettling behaviours and fast movements. My favourite thing in the world itself though is how you can find and complete random side objectives not related to anything at all off to the side, and if you're nice and careful, can net you something special like a key to a place that never gets marked on your map. You are trusted to remember what the character says the key is for and then seek out the location they mentioned in order for you to pick up brand new upgrades to your current arsenal, or even optional gadgets that help your offense, defense, or stealth. However, things start falling apart for me once I think about many of these cool things having costs and weird choices that are just stapled onto them. For instance, like with the backpack and crafting. It's great how the backpack is accessed in real time, giving you a lot to consider when opening it in case you get surrounded, and I also love how you have to find limited resources and decide on how to distribute them when health kits, air filters, and ammo usually cost a lot to make, with the game allowing you to dismantle other things on the fly to give you other materials to stop and swap as you please. But the cost of this is that unlike something like Evil Within 2, you aren't given any reason to craft anything at distant workbenches aside from upgrading your own body, which happens really rarely, since ammo and health cost exactly the same amount of materials whether you're at a workbench or out in the field, something that could have added a great layer of panicked decision making to keep trekking on using more resources or go back to use less but lose progress, which Evil Within 2 did do. An open world wasn't even the main focus of the game, even though it had those areas. Another instance of cost to benefit is the open world itself, which sadly is perhaps the biggest part of the game. I very much like all the things I mentioned previously, but when it comes to monster encounters, their impact and importance is it's bastardized by the open design. In previous Metro games, you're stuck in cramped spaces and need to be clever about how you move, even in the more open areas. But here, if there's a monster or two and you want to save some ammo or have no ammo, you can just pleasantly run around them and have absolutely no issue with them at all, adding further credence to the fact that monsters are distractions more than threats, like how I felt in the boat sections. Not to mention, it's great they kept all the gas mask maintenance stuff there from the previous games, but with the point of the game being based around spending most of your time outdoors in clean air, even that mechanic is diminished and reserved only for certain sequences. Another cost to benefit, the autosave feature. It's a logical and useful addition for sure, but more often than not, it would save me into situations where every time I died with no health or ammo, I'd respawn seconds before that death with barely any chances to get away and save myself until I brute force trialed and errored my way to a safer area to make another manual quick save. With this example I captured here being when I was one hit away from death and monsters were right in front of me.
Can you also possess your own farts, fly them around the screen, and use them to bomb all of your enemies? No, you can't, so Abe's Exodus automatically wins the prize of Best Video Game Sequel with Exodus as its subtitle.
What really doesn't help the game's cause is your standard movement speed too. Why is it so slow? Are you enjoying taking a leisurely stroll through the apocalypse, Artyom? Well, tough shit, since all that sightseeing means you're unable to move backwards even remotely quickly, leaving you to get mauled a lot of the times, with the only solution being running away and slowly turning yourself around without a quick turn option in order to clumsily aim at the threat chasing you. Sure, there are a few survival horrors out there that don't feature quick turns as well, but usually the entire game has been built around that, whether it's with the level design or enemy behavior. Here it just feels unfair. It's a survival game for sure, but also a first-person shooter with fast enemies, and not being able to strafe at a decent pace combined with the PS4's stupid input lag makes some encounters a chore. And whenever you do decide to sprint, it may be good for escaping monsters like a little bitch, but in any other part of the game you turn into Artyom the Hedgehog for a moment, so in a sense, the casual movement is way too slow outdoors and tolerable indoors, while the sprinting is way too fast indoors but tolerable outdoors.
Couldn't they just adjust the speed slightly depending on where you are, like in every other third-person and first-person game when you're wading through mud or something? In Metro Exodus, you can't win. You're either going as slow as sack or fast as flaps. You're too fast 1 second, then too slow the next. Too fast, too slow, too fast. This sounds like a bad first date.
I do like the other aspects to the crafting that you can access at workbenches too, with weaponry customizing and even repairs that you can make to your old decrepit guns that equally cost extremely valuable resources, making you think really hard about everything that you pick up and how you can use it. Everything has value. But in the end, once you add this mechanic in with every other mechanic I've showed off in this video, no matter how good you may think it is personally, it just says one thing to me. Metro is now just another open world game. It does have the stuff that made other Metro games stand out, but that doesn't mean much to me when it's lost slightly within its grander ambitions. It's Metro diluted and slowly becoming something that feels more like an appeaser to everybody instead of being totally fantastic to a slightly smaller amount of people looking for constant tension and darkness. Which, if the sales figures are something to go by, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. I mean, the old Metro games did those outdoor treks perfectly, and they were infrequent enough where they always left you on edge for what could happen around you in the distance. Yeah, they were slightly more linear, but I don't think that's a bad thing when put into the context of the games that they're in. I'd rather have slightly more railroaded outdoor segments that leave you frightened for your life all around you and that only happen occasionally so you never know what will happen next, over constant outdoor treks with exploitable AI that you can run around and have endless ways of reaching objectives because of that. I know I only got 5 hours into this game mostly because of the state of the PS4 version, but even with that being said, the game itself, where far from bad, didn't grip me at all and make me want to deal with the problems of the PS4 version until the end of the game. It was a bad mix of circumstances for me. If I got this on Steam, I probably would have seen it through until the end at least, but combining my lack of engagement with these problems, no, it was a really bad mix. From what I have played though, I can say that Metro Exodus seems to drift further away from what was nearly perfected in Last Light into something much more generic, and that makes me so sad to say. I think I'd rather read the books at this point. Oh wait, look, I can! There's the book! Oh, well, thanks very much, Fishy Wishy. I was gonna get that signed.
Once again, I'm so sorry that I only managed to get about 5 hours into the game, but I mean, I'm a pretty busy guy, and if a game is not only gripping me in those first few hours, but also giving me a load of technical issues at the same time, why should I bother continuing? I am massively happy that the developers have managed to sell 50% more copies than Last Light at this early juncture of its release. That's incredibly impressive. And if anything, I hope that this just sparks interest for all of the waves of new players and new fans of the franchise to go back and play the other two games, because when you say Metro to me, those are Metro. This is not quite the same thing. For Metro Exodus though, well, first of all, do not buy the PS4 version, and secondly, to conclude with the game as a whole, it's not bad at all. It's just not my cup of tea. But this is.
There's a lucky emblem.
Howdy everybody, thank you for staying until the very end of this video, and if you want to see some outtakes, they will be on at the very end of this video, so please stay tuned. Because first of all, I want to thank you again for staying until the end of this video. I'm really sorry for the state of my hair. I've been practicing with my new drum kit recently for some more drumming cover videos, and I'm a bit sweaty. I need to have a shower. Sorry about that. But I also have to thank all of the Patreon supporters from my Patreon page in the description below, where you'll also find my Instagram account and my Twitter account and all sorts of other things that you can follow me on, keep up to date with things, see what I'm taking pictures of with my phone if you're interested in that. There's lots of stuff in the description for you to check out. But yes, thank you so much to every single one of these people on the screen right now for supporting me. These videos wouldn't happen without you, so thank you so much. And special thanks to the top tier supporters for this month. Omama2, Basil, Carl Hakkinen, Gamerman, I Have a Portal Gun, Exopaz, Matthew Hubble, Chris Slattery, Mills Kahai, Brandon, Binary Code, Kirsten B, Cyberpunk Symphony, Nicole Gennaro, Dave Marshall, Nathan Young, Victor Patrick Bauer, Robert Alamsha, The Game Shed, Daniel Leon, Mitchell Reed, Adi Thornton Smith, and Maximilian Ely. Thank you so much, every single one of you amazing people.
So I'm sure you can imagine, for fans of the Metro series, Don't be confused, everyone. I have just changed shirts from the first outtake because Kara said it looked like I had a lot of beer when I was wearing that other shirt. Yes, thanks, Watch. I do remember to breathe. I breathe every bloody day. So I'm sure you can imagine, for fans of the series, that... Strap yourselves in, gentlemen and rough ladies, because it's not a because, it's not a because, it is not a because, I didn't write that.
What did you write?
Not because, there's just no because in there, I don't know how I'm saying it. It's not in the script. There's no because. The title of the game being Metro Exodus.
It's not the dog. It's
now it's not. It's now the children. Yeah, we're not going to have a dog problem today because we've actually got to a point where we can actually shut the door this time.
Shut the door. But...
because we haven't got any deliveries coming or anything like that. But now we've got children murmuring upstairs. Don't have children. Don't have them.